Good evening, Year 6 students and parents and carers. Welcome to this year's first and ever for 2023 club. And today we've got our science club. But before we start today's session, a bit of housekeeping from myself. My name is Miss Shallow and I'm sitting here in place for Mr. Muse. He's going to be taking over from next week. Right, the very first thing you've got to do, Year 6 and parents and carers, is to scan the QR code, or if you do not have a phone that has a camera, feel free to go on slido.com and enter the code #1051465. If you've got a modern day phone like myself, I'm not showing off, guys, I promise you, just turn your camera on and literally scan the code and it will take you to Slido, and that's where you're going to be making your comment. The first thing you've got to do is make sure you write your name, student, as well as your primary school. So when we're reading your chat, comment or answers, we know exactly who the young person is and we know exactly what primary school you're coming from as well. That'll be very, very useful. So I'll give you maybe 10 seconds to get yourself situated. So slido.com, enter the code or scan the QR code. Now, second bit of housekeeping for myself or from myself before I hand you over to the science department is if you go onto our school's website, so it's so Bexleyheath Academy website, and I'm just showing that to you so you can see. Go to Academy Live and you see where it says Year 6 transition, so you can all see my screen. Right, so you've got a welcome message that came from Mr. Muse and Miss Freeman. So have a look at that, parents, watch that video. But most important for today's session, which is the virtual science club, you can see we've got two worksheets. There's a standard worksheet and a differentiated worksheet. Choose whichever one you would like to work on. And then we have our checkout, okay? So at the end of today's session, what you would do is you have an email to myself, Miss Shallow. So my email address is ishallow@bexleyheathacademy.org.uk. So just .org, remove the UK. Or you can send it to skobekwa@bexleyheathacademy.org as well. Any of us will pick up that information, and what we'll do is in the following virtual session, we'll then literally do a shout out for everybody that submitted work. With the checkout, we'll talk about those that had the highest points as well. You will be celebrated. Okay, so there's two housekeeping for myself. The very first one is for you to make sure you scan the QR code. And the second housekeeping was for you to go onto our school's website, watch the video at some point, as well as for today's activities, complete the activities and have them submitted to myself or to science. Okay, and I hand you over to the science department. I think they're all nice and ready to start off. Over to you, Miss.
Thank you very much, Miss Shallow. Welcome, Year 6 students. My name is Miss Kabalka and I am an assistant principal and also kind of the head of science at Bexleyheath Academy. And welcome to your first kind of virtual club, starting with science. Now, we study 3 sciences when you come to Bexleyheath Academy: biology, chemistry, and physics. So those are 3 sciences and you will have a teacher in each of those areas. But today we are going to focus on just 2 of those areas. We're going to focus on biology. And in a second, once we've done our check-in task, I'm going to introduce you to Miss Brunt, who's one of our fantastic biology teachers, for some biology activities that you can do at home as well and get involved with. And then we will also be doing some chemistry work, and she will pass back over to me. And we've got a very exciting chemistry experiment to show you this afternoon as well. But whenever you start any lesson at Bexleyheath Academy, you will always have a check-in task. That's a couple of questions to get started with at the beginning of the lesson. Now, if you have followed Miss Shallow's instructions and gone to the website and clicked on the worksheet, you will be able to do the work from home. All the questions and all the tasks that we've got are on that worksheet. So please do make sure that you've got it up ready to go. Okay, so let's go on to then our check-in tasks. Our next slide, please, Miss Shallow. There we go. So your check-in task, either on a piece of or on the worksheet from the website, you've got 2 questions, and we're going to give you 2 minutes to answer those questions. The first one is to describe what you might see and feel if a substance is burnt. So if you think about some burning wood, for example, what might you see and what would it feel like if you were nearby? And then second one is to describe the changes that happen to your body when you exercise. So if you go out and you're running around playing football or swimming, doing any kind of sport, how does your body change? How does your body show it's that it's exercising? So your 2 minutes start now. Michelle, there's a timer right in that top right hand corner there for 2 minutes, so they'll know when they're finished. Lovely. And once that gets down to 0 seconds, we'll have a look at some of those answers. Off you go. So that's your first 30 seconds up. Hopefully that means you started to have a think about that first question. If you've got a substance that's been burnt, some burnt wood, for example, there's many things you could say. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And as we're halfway through, we might just stop it a little bit earlier, but just describe the changes that happen to your body when you exercise. So think about the last time you did some sport. What did your body start to do? Or if you were watching someone doing some sport, how could you tell by looking at their body that they were taking part in lots of activities? We'll just do 15 more seconds. We won't give it the full 2 minutes. I think we've got lots of people getting responses coming through. Okay, so we'll actually stop it there. We have lots of time. So question number 1, let's go through the answers. So if you feel something that might have been burned, then a couple of your responses might be, you might see flames, for example. You might, if you got very near it, you might feel the temperature rising because it's going to be very hot. You might hear things kind of crackling as well as it kind of the temperature rises. You might hear that kind of wood crackling in the background. You might see a sparks potentially. Wow. Going off for shadow. Thank you. Lovely. So flames, heat, temperature increasing, all of those would be answers to question 1. And on question number 2, describe the changes that happen to your body when you exercise. There are all sorts of different things here. So you might start to sweat, right? Might run down your face and things like that. So sweating, you might start to breathe faster. You might feel a little bit out of breath whilst you're exercising. You might get a little bit red. You might get red cheeks, for example, when you're running around as your body gets warmer as well. So you might feel your temperature rise, and you might also feel your heart beating as well. So all of those are changes that you might see whilst you're exercising. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at these 2 areas today. We're going to look at burning, and we're going to have a look at exercise. So first of all, now that we've gone through our check-in task, I'm going to pass you over to Miss Brunt, our biology teacher, who's going to talk to us all about exercise and how our bodies respond to exercise.
Hello, I am Miss Brunt, and welcome to the biology section of our virtual science club today. And as we have just heard, we are looking at exercise. So first of all, exercise is an important part of a very healthy lifestyle. When you exercise, your body needs to ensure that your muscles have enough energy to move them. So this is when our body needs to pump more blood around the body to our muscles, taking all the nutrients that we need, such as oxygen and our sugars, which help to transfer to the energy that we require for our heightened exercise and movement. So today, to be able to look at this, we're going to look at an experiment, okay? And firstly, we're going to be looking at our heart rate. And our heart rate is how many times our heart is pumping in a certain amount of time. So we're going to start, if we can go on to the next slide for me, please, Miss Shallow. So we're going to start by finding our pulse. So 2 ways you can do this. 2 fingers to your wrist and press firmly. You should feel a pulsing sensation underneath it, and that is where you will be able to count your heart rate, okay? So we're going to count that for 15 seconds, either here or under the bottom of our jawline on our neck. So for the next 15 minutes, you need to count how many times you feel your heart beat. Off we go, 15 seconds. And there we go. So when I done this earlier, I counted 16 for mine, which I would put into the first box on our by 4. So seeing as I had done 16 heartbeats per 15 seconds, I would times this by 4, which I would get 64, and I would put that in the beats in a minute before exercise box. So now that we have calculated our heart rate before exercise, we actually need to do a bit of exercise now. So for 1 minute, you need to do some sort of exercise. You can do jumping jacks, you can walk on the spot, run on the spot, anything you want to do. So for 1 minute, starting from now on our timer at the top of the screen, we're going to do 1 minute of exercise. Off you go. If we could start the timer, please, Miss Shallow. I will do jumping jacks, but so keep going, maybe change it up if you want to. Nearly halfway there. So 20 seconds left, keep going. So 10 seconds, keep going to the last second. And 3, 2, 1. So now we need to repeat what we done before our exercise. So finding our pulse again, and for the next 15 seconds, please can you count how many heartbeats you have? Off you go. Okay, so now that you have counted that, we need to times what we counted by 4 again. So I had 22. If I times that by 4, I'll get 28, and I'd fill in the rest of my table as you can see on your worksheet. So now we're going to go to our next slide and have a look at our results. So on the next slide, we have our checkpoint. So on our checkpoint, we have got 2 questions. So our first one will be to compare your heart rate before and after exercise. So on this first question, you need to state by comparing if it has increased or decreased from before to after exercise. And then for our second question, you need to explain why your heart rate changed between before and after. And using for question 2, you'll have to use your keywords. But first of all, we're going to go to Miss Shallow.
Thank you, Miss. Just to let all the Yes 6 know, Yes 6, what you need to be doing in terms of your feedback, the Slido code that you all scan, I can see you all in the chat, you're all making all these comments, you're saying hello, you're putting your primary schools and so on and so forth. That's where you put your answers, and every now and again I can read out your answers to the science team, okay? And secondly, you have the worksheet for today's session is actually on our website as well. I've added the website onto the chat as well. So click on that and then open the worksheet and you can write your answers onto the table as well. So when you submit the work, Miss is going to see that you were doing the work as she was instructing you to do so. Okay, so put your answers in the chat, and then when Miss gives me a chance, I can read your answers to Miss, and everybody else can hear your answer, as well as complete the task on your worksheet as well. Thank you so much, Miss.
No, thank you. That's great, Miss. So we can definitely use that now for this checkpoint. So answering question 1 and 2, either into the chat and onto the worksheet for us, making sure that for number 2, you use then keywords to help you out. And if you finish before our end of our 2 minutes, there's a lovely challenge question there for you to be able to have a go at. So 2 minutes, 2 questions and a challenge. Off you go. So coming up to our first 30 seconds now. So make sure you've had a look at your results. Did it increase or did it decrease your heart rate from before to after exercise? And did it change by a lot or a small amount? It could have increased only by 1, or it could have increased by quite a bit. So making sure to get our answers down for us.
Miss, would you like me to read some answers or some responses?
Oh, cool.
Okay,
So
we've got
cool.
lots in here. I'm going to just read the ones that have got names. Names with primary schools even better. We've got Maddie. Maddie says hers increased by 14 beats.
Wow.
Hamida said hers increased. Hamida's actually said why increased. She said it increased because her blood is flowing more.
Fantastic.
And then we have got one last one. Ruby said she didn't feel her heartbeat. She's thinking she probably did it wrong.
Oh, that's not a problem. We'll be definitely looking over that again when you start with us in year 7 in September. So perfect. Thank you very much for all of them answers. And that does conclude to our checkpoint and our biology section of today. They were fantastic answers and thank you for following. And I'm going to pass back for our lovely chemistry section. Thank you.
Thank you, Year 6, for all your answers. So Miss Brunt has been going through looking at exercise and how by getting all that blood pumping, by seeing your heart rate increase as it should when you're exercising, getting all of that blood around your body, carrying lots of oxygen and carrying lots of sugar. And that sugar would be really important for all the different parts of your body to get as much energy as they possibly can during exercise, so that all your muscles can keep moving. Because if you think about whenever you're exercising, it's always about your muscles moving and lots and lots and lots, and they need lots of energy to do that. And we're going to stick with the idea of energy as we move into chemistry to look at our kind of second area today. And that second area is combustion or burning. And essentially what happens when a chemical reaction involves burning is lots of energy is released. So we can think about the reaction that is taking place when you're exercising and you're getting lots of energy in your muscles as almost a very similar reaction to what happens when we burn wood, for example, to get energy to warm ourselves up. They're all releasing energy. Now, when we think about burning, we quite often picture that kind of big flames and lots of heat and kind of feeling the temperature increase as well. And it's a really important reaction. And we would say it's an irreversible change. And that means once we've burned something, once we've combusted something, we're not able to change it back. And that means it's a chemical reaction. It's different to something like melting, for example, because if we melt something, we're able to reverse that change and we're able to freeze it and turn it back from a liquid to a solid. But combustion is an irreversible change. We are not able to turn it back into its original start once we have burnt that substance. So let's just have a quick look at some of the uses of combustion and why it's a really important chemical reaction to talk about. Now, we're going to think about the combustion of hydrogen in particular, because hydrogen is a gas. It's a very, very kind of light gas. Hydrogen is one of the most simple element that we have. And it's quite often found not in our atmosphere, but you might find it on the atmosphere of other planets. And it is always a gas just because it's a really small molecule. Now, if we burn or react that hydrogen with lots of oxygen, it combusts very easily. That means that we are able to set fire to it very easily. It's very flammable. And when we do manage to burn it, it also releases lots and lots of energy. And we would see that during a chemical reaction with flames. And it also releases the energy in the form of sound as well. So if you hear hydrogen combusting, it's a very loud bang. Now, when this hydrogen is combusted, because it releases lots of energy, scientists and particularly chemists are really hoping that hydrogen in the future might be able to power our cars rather than using petrol. So instead of going to the petrol station when your parents or carers go to fill up their cars and putting petrol into them, you might in the future, maybe by the time that you're able to drive, put hydrogen into them, and then we would use that reaction to power and give the energy to power your cars, which makes it a very exciting area of science. Now, I think the most important thing that we need to do here, though, is see what happens when hydrogen combusts and to see all of the energy being transferred and released. So to do that, I'm going to bring forward one of these balloons. Now, you can see it's kind of floating around in the background. This balloon is filled full of hydrogen gas. So it's not gas from the atmosphere around us, because the atmosphere around us contains lots of oxygen and nitrogen. So this balloon is different. It contains hydrogen that we've specially put into the balloon. And what I'm going to do, I've also got, you can see here, I'll hold it up for my camera, I've got a very, very kind of long meter stick, and I've made it even longer by putting a little piece of wood at the end. And this is going to act as my match, a very, very long match. I'm going to light it now. So let's just bring it into the frame. There we go. So you can now see that I've lit the end of my meter ruler and my very long matchstick. And we're going to place this match right underneath the balloon containing hydrogen. And we'll see what happens when it combusts. Oh, my match looks like it's going to go out. Bear with me, my match very unhelpfully has gone out slightly. So let's try that again. Let's see if we can relight it. Okay, so we're back up and running. Let's put this underneath. Are we ready for the combustion of hydrogen? Okay, so make sure my match is blown out so we don't set any more hydrogen balloons on fire. So that was an incredibly loud bang, and hopefully you could hear that at home as well. Very, very loud. Hopefully we could see the flames as well, as all of that energy was transferred in that very quick reaction when hydrogen was combusted. Now, I know that I love doing this experiment, and I'm sure you're going to want to see it again. So the really good news is I have got another balloon filled with hydrogen, and we're going to do it again. But I think I've got Miss Brunt who's in the corner. I think if we turn off the lights, once I've got my match lit, we're going to see if making the classroom a bit darker helps you to see the flames a little bit more clearly. So let's light this match again. Here we go. We almost need kind of a drum roll for the anticipation. Okay, let's get this match lit properly. Miss Brunt's going to turn the lights off. It's a little bit darker now, so hopefully you can see the flames even more. And 3, 2, 1. Oh no. Oh no. There we go. That one took a little bit longer to go. But hopefully that allowed you to see the hydrogen balloon exploding. I'll come back onto the camera there for a second time. Definitely not something you're going to be able to try at home because you won't be able to get hold of lots of hydrogen, but a very big, loud bang with lots of energy. And that reaction could, in the future, you never know, be taking place inside cars to power them along the road. although probably in a slightly more controlled fashion. So if we go on to next, then we should have another checkpoint task for you to do, this time all about combustion of hydrogen. We've got 3 questions. First of all, I want you to be able to name the gas that hydrogen reacts with when it combusts. Then I want you to give 2 observations. So observation means what you can see or hear during the combustion of hydrogen. And then lastly, I want you to tell me 1 example of using the combustion of hydrogen. And again, you can type those in the worksheet, or if you're not able to do that, you can also type the messages and Michelle will be able to share your responses as well. So we'll give you kind of a couple of minutes, off you go, get started with answering those 3 questions. And Michelle, as soon as you see some of those answers coming through, please do read them out for us. That would be great.
Miss, the chat is going crazy out here.
That's what we like. Everyone except science.
Yeah, so we've got like lots of wows. Just so you know, Miss, I had my camera out for the second one, ready to film it, and I got a nice little video as well, so I'm super excited. I'll be sharing that with the rest of the team at some point, Miss. I read that the last one was spectacular. Right, so comments in the chat. Okay, so Anonymous, I'm going to read it because obviously it says a loud bang when it exploded between my name. Oh, by the way, my name is Noah. So thank you for that comment, Noah.
Lovely, absolutely. That would be one of the answers to question number 2. So that would be a great observation for what happened during the combustion of hydrogen.
Someone's heart is still beating fastness. I'm not sure if it's the explosion or from the exercise. Okay, we've got an answer from Kevin, Miss. So first answer 1. Am I along the right path, Miss? Is that correct?
Oh, I think I lost you. I just cut out briefly for a second, Miss. Would you be able to repeat that for us, please?
So Kevin's answer, sorry, that's just gone. So Kevin's answer, where did Kevin's answer go? So was heat one of them?
Heat would definitely be an observation. You wouldn't have been able to kind of feel it at home, but as I was stood right next to it, lots of heat was given out. It's made the classroom much warmer, lots of energy going through. Okay,
so we've got heat and light.
Great. Light is a really good one, absolutely.
And then for question 3, I can't see what they've written. And then another one from another anonymous. Please put your names down. Oh, it's Reddy. So Reddy's got 1, he thinks fire. 2, he's got flame and a gas. And 3, he's not so sure. And then Isla from Belmont Academy says oxygen is the gas. So when it combusts, there is light and flame. Hydrogen can be used to power cars.
Really well done. That was all of those correct. Spot on. So the gas absolutely is oxygen. When we have hydrogen being combusted, it's reacting with oxygen in the air around us. Absolutely. And hydrogen cars is a great example of using hydrogen as well. Michelle, has anyone got the product? Anyone able to tell us what is produced when hydrogen is combusted? I kind of had it in there on those slides very quickly.
Carbon dioxide. Freddie from Foster's Primary School. Carbon dioxide.
Good suggestion, but not carbon dioxide. So because it's hydrogen, oxygen, there's no carbon there. So we wouldn't get carbon dioxide. Have a think about something that we have in our everyday life that we cannot live without, that contains some hydrogen and some oxygen. I wonder if anyone can get it. I'll see if we got one more guess. Or Michelle has given a big hint there on the screen. So if you look at what Michelle is doing right now.
We've got water, Miss. Isla's come back with water. H2O to be more precise. That's William. We've got lots of H2Os now. Lots of water coming in. Lots, yeah.
I'm really impressed, Year 6, that we have got people using H2O, so using the chemical formula for water as well. So chemists use formula, one, because we can be a little bit lazy sometimes and it's nice and quick. Rather than writing water every time, we can just write H2O. But really well done, everybody. Which, Miss Shallow, I believe that leads us on our last part then, which is our checkout. Now, at the end of every lesson at Bexleyheath Academy, you will do a checkout, and that checkout has been posted onto the website for you, and it's always a Google form quiz, so it's multiple choice, and when you complete that, we will be able to see all the responses. We'll be able to see how many marks you get correct. And I believe Miss Shallow has already mentioned that there will be a big celebration. So when you come back for the maths virtual club that is going to run next week, I believe, you will have some prizes for those of you who have successfully answered lots of the checkout. So please do head over to the website and make sure you open that up and have an answer of those multiple choice questions. But really well done, everybody. And thank you for joining us for our science virtual club. Miss Shallow, was there any questions that anybody had for the science department just before we go?
Right, yes, Sis, here's your chance. If you have any questions for the science department, now is the best time to write in the chat. And then what I'll do is I'll just share that with Miss. Happy birthday to Noah. Noah, if only we knew what primary school you're from, I would have shouted at your primary school as well. But just so you all know, it's Noah's birthday on Sunday, by the way, Miss. Whilst waiting for the questions to come in. I'll show you where the website is again once upon in a bit. So don't worry about where the website is. I'll be showing you that again because we've had a few questions about where's the website. Okay.
So whilst we're waiting for some questions, Michelle, I can talk a little bit more about science and the science that you will experience Year 6 when you join us. So as I said, there'll be biology, chemistry and physics, all three, meaning you will have a teacher for each of those sciences, which means you get somebody who's a real expert in their area. We do a mixture of theory lessons where you learn all about the really important principles that underlie science. So you learn about living organisms in biology, you learn about all the different things that make living organisms. So you are an example of a living organism as a human, and you are made up from organs, you are made up from bits of tissue, and then a very important structure called cells. And we will look at all of those in your first year in Year 7. In chemistry, chemistry is all about chemical reactions and atoms that are around us, and looking at things on a very, very small scale and how those chemical reactions affect our everyday lives. So you'll start by learning all about particles that exist in the world around us, and then you'll slowly start to move on to those chemical reactions and looking at different types of them. And of course, you will get to do lots of practical work during those lessons as well, where you get to carry out some chemical reactions. And then lastly, physics. Physics is all about the big kind of forces that affect our universe. So you learn about energy, you learn about forces and how a force causes an object to move. And over the course of your time here, you'll also get to look at things like space in physics as well. So those are kind of the three main areas you would look at. Any questions coming through, Michelle?
Lots.
Perfect. Let's go.
Lots and lots. Just bear with me 1 second, Miss. Let me just make that bigger. Okay, somebody was really impressed to see that the science department has a lot of females, and they've asked, are there any male teachers in the school? Yeah, we do have male science teachers as well. Right, so let's go back to comments. Just bear with me 1 second. So the questions about clubs and everything else, I'll answer that after Miss is gone. Miss already answered the question. One of the questions was, how do we, like, what science subjects do we have? You've covered that because you talked about the 3 sciences that we offer and how we offer them as separate entities. That's been covered already. It's just, I'm just scrolling through to look at questions with just names as well, so I can associate the questions with the names on. So let's go to that. Okay. So is there a science club after school?
There is a science club. It's at lunchtimes at the moment, and it is all sciences. So we call it STEM club, and we have dissections. So we look at kind of organs that are inside living organisms, and we unpick them. So we've looked at hearts, they've looked at lungs. They also do lots of chemical reactions. So very recently, they created their own volcanoes and used the different chemical reactions to cause all the lava to bubble out of their volcanoes. So lots of fun activities on our STEM club that runs every single week.
Okay, so Tommy from Being Well, I hope that answered your question. Miss, the next question is related to the demonstration you did earlier on with the balloon. John would like to know, when you lifted the match and put it into the balloon, how did it make a fire?
So the match I already had lit. So all that provides is the energy that's needed to get this reaction going. Because even though hydrogen is quite reactive, it needs kind of a lot of energy to react with oxygen. Because you could see before I was kind of doing the reaction, the balloon was just sat there. Lots of hydrogen just sat and nothing was happening. So I just needed a bit of heat, a bit of energy to get the reaction going by using the match. And that just was enough. That presence of it, I didn't even have to touch the balloon. It was just underneath. That temperature was enough to make the hydrogen and the oxygen, essentially they bang into each other. The particles hit into each other. And that is what you see with the chemical reaction.
Right, Miss, there's lots of questions. I'm not sure if you're ready to take all of them.
I'll take 2 or 3, Miss Shallow. I think 2 or 3.
So the next one is from Jazz. Jazz would like to know if we learn about the human body.
Absolutely.
As a surgeon.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're in biology, you will start by looking at organisms as a whole. So you will look at all of their big structures. You will then break it down into different parts of the human body. So you will look at the skeleton. You will then look at the digestive system. You will look at reproductive systems. All of those you'll get to look at in lots and lots of detail at the beginning of year 7.
Okay, and then Miss, last question. How much science do we do in a week?
Oh, good question. So you will have 1 lesson of biology, 1 lesson of chemistry, and 1 lesson of physics every single week. And our lessons are 80 minutes each. So you've got a lot of science time there every single week. You have an awful lot of it, which is great. And that gets even higher when you go up to GCSE as well.
Thank you, Miss. Are you sure you don't want one for the road?
1 more, go on then, 1 more. How can I resist?
It's okay, Miss. There's just too many. I just think it'll be unfair to just give 1 more. Okay. I think this one has come up a few times, so we can have this. It's come from Kevin. I think Suleiman and a couple of others have asked this question. Do they need to learn the periodic table off by heart?
I'm never going to tell anybody that they have to learn it off by heart. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to. It's a lot of information on there, but you will always be given a copy of the periodic table. So you will start to remember some of it just naturally by heart. But no, you'll always get a copy of it. But we will really help you to understand what the periodic table is and how to read it and interpret it as well.
Thank you so much, Miss. I'll let you and your team go off and tidy up. Okay, year 6 is just myself here with you. I can still see your questions or your comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and just show you how to access the website, okay? So I'm going to go and present my screen, and I'll say it very slowly this time around because we've got plenty of time. We've got till 6 o'clock. If you've got more questions, just put them in the chat. At some point, I'll read them as well. So let me start sharing this tab. Okay, so you need to go to BA's website. So let me just go on to this document. Okay, present this tab. So I'm going to go on here and I'm going to type BA, so Bexleyheath. I'm just going onto Google. Just bear with me 1 second. Let's make sure you can all see what I am doing. So Bexleyheath. So I've just gone to Google and I've put in Bexleyheath Academy. Now, what that will do is it will take you to the school's website. So you can see the school's website. Okay. Right. Let's see in the chat window if you are there. Say yes, 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 yes. So if you are on the site, so you can see exactly what's on the screen, go into the chat and say yes, 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 yes. I'm waiting for the yeses to come through. Okay, perfect. And then what you would then need to do is go on to where it says year 6 transition. So you click on that. Okay, so it will take you onto this page. Now you can see there's a welcome message that's come from the assistant principal, Mr. Muse, and he's literally in charge of Key Stage 3. You're going to be seeing him from next week. It will be mainly Mr. Muse and whoever is going to be leading that club. And then Miss Freeman, who is your pastoral manager. I'm not going to click play on that, but feel free to watch that video. It just talks to you about, they introduce themselves to you. Your parents would have received a letter from our principal, Miss Luther. That letter is also on the website. So if your parents have not seen it, direct them to the website as well. The most important thing for you is this bit that says transition events. Okay, so here are all the clubs that we're going to be running during this half term, and then the ones for next half term we'll put them on at the end or just before we break up for the half term in June. Okay, so today is the virtual science club, so you can see that on there, and it has some links to go with it. So you've got 2 worksheets. You've got worksheet and then differentiated worksheet. Okay, so if you want the work to be broken down for you, you click on the differentiated worksheet, and then it will take you to activities that the science department have done with you today. The second task was the checkout. So at the end of every lesson here at BA, what we do is we have our checkout. So you click on the checkout. I'll present the tab as well. This is very important for you to do this one, because what would happen for next week is Mr. Muse will literally look at the checkout and look at who's completed the checkout. So you can see you get to write your don't worry about your email address, but if you put your email address, it's even better. Your primary school, very important to have your primary school, and then put your first and your last name. So should, in case we get 2 people called Grace from the same primary school, we know which Grace has completed that completed the checkout. Okay, so you can see you've got questions from today. So it's multiple choice. Okay, so give another term for burning, you choose your answer, and so on and so forth. And then once you've got into the end, you press submit. Mr. Muse would definitely look at that, and then what he would do is in his session, he's going to, the people that get 6 out of 6, your names are going to be mentioned in next week's session. For those of you that attempted it as well, so it's going to have your name displayed on the screen also. So it's things for you to look forward to. Okay, so I'm going to take a breather. I'll go and look in the chat and see what comments you've got on the chat. Okay, lots of yeses that came through. Okay, is it possible to be a multi-scientist? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Kevin. But for example, my degree was in chemistry. However, I get to teach all 3 sciences. Am I multi-scientist? Maybe, maybe not. So we are going to have an art club. So Jazz just asked if there's going to be an art club. Yes, there's an art club, and that's going to be on the, not the 3rd of May. It's going to be the 17th of May. Wednesday, the 17th of May. 5 o'clock is going to be the art club. Come in with a, turn up to the session with maybe a plain piece of paper, a pencil. But your parents will always be informed if you need any specific equipment for the clubs. So your parents will receive an email from us on a weekly basis, just to remind them of the club that's happening that week. And then if there's any special equipment that you might need, your parents will be told as well. Okay, let's come back to the chat and see what other questions you might have for me. Right, guys, we have got 11 minutes. So if you've got any questions, now is the perfect time for you to ask your questions. Right, so with the worksheets, what you would have to do is you're going to have to make a copy. Okay, so for you to be able to write on it, you need to make a copy of it. So just download it, and then you should be able to edit it. Okay, Kevin, so that means I'm a multi-scientist then, because I can teach chemistry, biology, and physics. Am I really a scientist if I'm a teacher? What do you reckon, Kevin? You can type your parents' email address. That would be really, really good, Daniel. So the bit where you have to type in an email address, yes, do type your parents' email address. Okay, where are you going to send it to? What's the best way of me doing this? You can send it to myself. I'm going to put my email address in the chat window for all of you to see. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so as a matter of fact, let's send it to Mr. Muse because he's the one that's going to be running the sessions moving forward. So Mr. Muse at okay, I'll just put that onto the chat, and all you would have to do is just copy Sir's email address and then just submit your work to him. So I've just put that, I've put Sir's email address onto the chat window. Oh, Kevin's favorite subject is science. How could I not guess that, Kevin? Right, Suleiman, what do you mean, how do you get on? How do you get on to what? The checkout? You can put your own email address. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so you, Alicia, you can put your parents' email address or you can put your own, okay? Right, so basically, here's what's to come. Every single Wednesday, from now till, say, I think July, you're going to have an activity. It's an hour. Next week, for example, is going to be maths. Okay, so it will be half an hour of you having a snippet of what maths looks like here at BA, and then you're going to have Mr. Muse is going to literally celebrate you based on who has completed the checkout, who got the highest scores, and so on and so forth, or who completed the worksheet. So that's what next week's structure, and every single Wednesday structure will be you have a club and a celebration, okay, from now until July. Now, 4th of July, 3rd and 4th of July, you're going to have your transition day. If my dates are not completely correct, don't worry, your parents will be informed as well. So 3rd and the 4th of July, I feel like it's 4th and the 5th of July, you're going to have your transition day. That's the day where you come here at BA for 2 days to then experience what BA life really, really looks like. You get to meet the rest of the people or the young people that are going to be in your year group as well. So it'll be a really exciting day for yourselves because you get to literally see what September is going to look like, okay? And then coupled with that, we also run summer school. Summer school is normally 4 days, but it's always towards the end of August. Okay, so I can't remember whose question was that. I think that was Noah. Right, guys, we've got 7 more minutes. Just keep the questions coming in. Do we physically come into school before September? Yes, you do. I've just answered that. Is that Senna? Right, so you can just type in, we do have a YouTube account for Bexleyheath Academy. All you've got to do is just find it on, Bexleyheath Academy YouTube. We've got lots of videos on there. And if you just type in, this one is called Year 6 Transition Science, that should come up. How do I get on the checkout? Suleiman, you have to go onto the website. Remember I showed you that, so I'm going to just go back again and show you. So you go on here where it says science, it says checkout. So you have to click on that link. Okay. How do I get to that link thing on the YouTube? What link thing? Riley, what are you talking about? So just Google Bexleyheath Academy. It will take you to the school's website. All right, Riley? Oh, thank you for that, Suleiman. Suleiman, I just put a link on there. You are a champion, Suleiman. What's my favorite science subject? Kevin, oh my goodness. I like all three of them, to be fair. But when I was your age, chemistry was the one that came to me like naturally. It just made sense. So I loved chemistry. Do you do algebra in math? Of course you do. Yes, Martin, you do algebra. You will be doing some algebra, definitely. Right, so I've got Mr. Muses here. So Mr. Muse is going to come to the camera so you can all see. If you've watched the video, you know exactly what Sir looks like.
Hi, guys. Great to see you. I'll chip in as well because I also am a science teacher. And some of you may end up having me when it comes to science. And I see that Suleiman has said that he loves space. Now, I'm a physics specialist, so I really love space as well. And I'll be teaching likely physics. But like Miss said, we're adaptable here and we can teach and love all three of the sciences. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing more and more of you on these live chats, on these live events. And it was really nice to get a snippet of you guys kind of getting involved and just really enjoying science. And that's what we want at the Academy. And I'm sure maths next week are going to want to come strong because Team Science have absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I know the maths team, very competitive. They're going to be just as good. And we really look forward to having you at the Academy. The 2 days that Miss mentioned, in case some of you missed that, because I know a few questions Miss was going through everything. You will be on site before September and everything's kind of aimed to get you ready so that you can start as best as possible when you join the Academy in September officially. Now, whilst I'm here, and I know that Miss said that the video of myself and Miss Freeman, who will be your direct port of call at school, as well as all of your other teachers, I just want to check and say, whilst I'm here specifically, do you have any questions for myself so that I can quickly answer before we wrap up our first event? Suleiman with a space fact. Clearly, you really do like space, Suleiman. I can see the sun is 150.53 million kilometers away from Earth. That is very cool. Space is vast, just like the curriculum you'll be learning at Bexleyheath. Any more questions, guys, for me? No questions here. Suleiman really telling me he really loves space. Any clue when the transition day is? So I believe Miss already mentioned we're looking at the 3rd and 4th of July. A document will come out to yourself that kind of goes over every single specific date, and I can make sure that information is sent again, just to clarify for your parents as well. We definitely have space books in the library. Suleiman, I can see that you'll be someone taking them out. Someone's told, Miss Noah's told me that I look like the teacher, Mr. Thompson. I'm guessing teachers at the primary school. Kevin likes engineering. We've got some engineering opportunities at the school as well, actually, because we have some engineering specialists that you'll be able to speak to, Kevin. I'm just reading what you're saying there. I was once supposed to fix a speaker for a slipper toy in school. Could it be attached to slipper? So I attached it to the alarm. Very clever. And Alfie from Bursted Wood says he has a moon map on his wall and a solar system map as well. That's really good to hear. I can see that we've got a lot of people that seem to really like science. When do we get the letter from you? So Riley, you should have received information from the school. Okay, you should have received information. If you just let your parents know to check emails, because a lot of this has been emailed out. Okay, now if you have a look on your transition page, so your year 6 page here that Miss has got up ready for you, you can see that we've got loads and loads of key dates. And if you see this here, guys, this welcome letter, that will actually take you specifically to a written transcript of when you've got every single event. Okay, just looking at a few more. What time will school start? So we open our gates at 8 a.m. and school starts officially in terms of line up at 8:40, and you'll be in lessons, okay, around 8:45. So really, Noah's asking me the question, when do we get to secondary school? I would say 8 a.m. is a great aim. So anytime between 8 a.m. and I would say 8:30, so that we're definitely not late, because after 8:40, we start to get a little bit close to being late. Is my job fun? It is, Kevin. Very, very fun, especially doing things like this. Let's have a look. I think I've answered you now, Hamida. So we start officially at 8:45, but you need to be in school and lining up from 8:40. Day and month. Oh, sorry. I think Noah's corrected you there. So your dates will come out to you in terms of your official start date around the beginning of September of this year. Is there a day where we go home early? I think that one's just disappeared. Every day is the same at the academy in terms of times. So you'll be leaving at 3:10 every day, unless you want to join one of our fantastic clubs. Okay. Now, I believe we're out of time for today. I'm really looking forward to shouting out some further shout outs from you guys next week in maths to celebrate your work. So make sure you have got those checkouts done and get your work in. Okay, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you next week. All the best, guys. Thank you very much.